Shadowing for beginners. Improve fluency fast. Welcome to English Stories, the place where stories don't just help you learn English, they help you become more confident, calmer, and a better communicator every single day. If this is your first time here, thank you for choosing to spend your time on yourself and on your English learning journey. I encourage you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our slow, clear, easy-to-follow episodes designed to help you improve your listening, speaking, and pronunciation. And if you're already a regular listener, welcome back. I'm really glad you're here. Today, we're diving into a technique that is surprisingly simple, but incredibly powerful. A technique that can help you boost your fluency much faster than traditional study methods. It's called shadowing. Shadowing isn't about memorizing vocabulary or analyzing grammar. It doesn't require you to understand every single word or to speak perfectly from the beginning. Instead, it mirrors the way children learn their first language. Listen, imitate, repeat, allowing the sounds, rhythm, and melody of English to naturally sink into your brain and your mouth. And the best part? Anyone can do it. Your pronunciation doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to speak fast. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. None of that matters. All you need to do is listen and repeat, like an echo, like a shadow following the voice you hear. In today's episode, you'll learn exactly what shadowing is and why this small technique can create such big results. You'll learn how to do it correctly so you don't get tired, don't lose rhythm, and don't feel frustrated. And you'll also practice with me right here in this podcast. I'll speak short, clear sentences, and your only job is to repeat them without overthinking, without translating, and without trying to understand every word. Just let English flow into your ears, into your mouth, and out as sound, naturally and freely. This is truly the simplest way to build speaking reflexes and confidence. So before we begin, take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders, loosen your jaw, and allow yourself to experience English in a lighter, more enjoyable way. And if you're ready, go ahead and subscribe to English Stories right now, because your journey to confident English starts at this very moment. Let's step into the world of shadowing and let English become a natural part of your everyday breath. Shadowing is one of the simplest and most powerful techniques for improving your speaking and listening at the same time. And the beauty of it is that anyone, absolutely anyone, can do it. So what exactly is shadowing? In the simplest terms, shadowing means listening to a voice in English and repeating what you hear immediately, almost at the same moment, like an echo or shadow that follows every sound. You don't pause. You don't stop the audio. You don't think about grammar or translate in your head. You don't worry about understanding every word. Instead, you let the sounds flow in, and you copy them as closely as you can. The sounds, the rhythm, the tone, the speed, and the melody of the sentence. Think of it like singing along with a song, even when you don't know all the lyrics. At first, you just imitate the sound, and little by little, your mouth learns the shape of the words, your brain learns the pattern, and everything becomes more natural. That is exactly how shadowing works. When you shadow, your brain doesn't have time to translate, and that's a good thing. Translation slows you down, but shadowing trains your brain to respond directly in English, the way native speakers do. Instead of thinking, "What does this mean?" you simply say it, and over time, the meaning becomes clearer because your brain starts to connect English with English, not English with your native language. And this is the key to fluency. Shadowing is also physical. It trains your mouth, your tongue, your breathing, and your vocal muscles to move the way English requires. Every language has its own rhythm and its own music, and English has a melody that is very different from many other languages. When you shadow, you practice this melody without needing to analyze it. You simply absorb it. This is why even beginners can start sounding more natural after just a few days of practice. Now, let's try a simple example. I'll say a short sentence, and you imagine yourself repeating it right after me, copying the sound like an echo. I want to speak English fluently. And again, I want to speak English fluently. You don't stop and think, you just follow the sound. Here's another simple one. I'm learning little by little. When you repeat these sentences, your mouth gets used to the rhythm, your ears get used to the melody, and you begin to feel the language instead of fighting with it. That feeling is what will eventually help you speak more naturally, more confidently, and more smoothly. And remember, shadowing is not about perfection. It's not about pronouncing every word exactly right. It's not about understanding everything. It's about training your brain and your mouth to work together in English, creating a direct connection that gets stronger every day. Even 5 minutes of shadowing can make a difference, and the more you do it, the more natural English will feel to you. Not as something you study, but as something you live. Shadowing helps you increase your fluency so quickly because it activates the most natural way humans learn languages, by hearing and repeating without overthinking. When you shadow, you stop translating in your head. Translation is slow, heavy, and uncomfortable, and it creates a delay between what you hear and what you want to say. But when you repeat instantly, your brain has no time to translate, so it is forced to process English directly in English. This is exactly the same way children learn to speak their first language, and when you use shadowing, you are bringing that natural reflex back into your learning. Another reason shadowing works so well is that it trains your entire mouth to move the way English requires. Your lips, your tongue, your jaw, your breathing, your vocal cords, all of them need practice to produce English sounds smoothly. Every language uses different muscles, and English has its own rhythm and shape. When you shadow, you repeat sounds exactly as you hear them, so your mouth starts learning the correct position for English vowels, the way consonants connect, and the natural flow between words. You are not just learning with your mind, you are learning with your body. And the more your body gets used to English, the more natural your speaking becomes. Shadowing also builds the habit of speaking without stopping. Many learners hesitate because they are afraid of making mistakes, but shadowing forces you to speak continuously. You don't pause to think about grammar. You don't freeze to find the perfect word. And you don't worry about being wrong. You just speak. This habit is incredibly powerful because fluency is not about perfection. It is about flow, rhythm, and confidence. By speaking without stopping, even for a few minutes each day, you teach your brain that talking in English is normal, safe, and easy. Another advantage is that shadowing exposes your ears to real English. The real music, the real intonation, the real connection between words. Textbook English is slow, clean, and artificial, but real English is full of emotion, stress patterns, reductions, and natural speed changes. When you shadow, you absorb all of this automatically. You begin to understand how native speakers actually speak, not how a textbook teaches them to speak. And because your ears adjust to real English, your listening skills skyrocket, and your speaking starts to match the natural sound of the language. Shadowing also strengthens your sense of rhythm. English has a musical quality. The ups and downs, the stress on certain words, the pauses, the speed. And this rhythm is what makes speech sound natural. When you imitate the speaker's intonation, you are training your brain to follow the melody of English. Over time, you stop sounding robotic or flat because you naturally copy the rise and fall of real communication. And finally, shadowing boosts your confidence. When you hear yourself speaking smoother, faster, and more clearly, even if it's not perfect, you begin to trust your own voice. You feel less afraid of mistakes because you realize that speaking is just movement, practice, and repetition. Confidence grows not from perfection, but from familiarity. And shadowing gives you that familiarity every single day. When learners start shadowing, they often make a few common mistakes that slow down their progress. And the first one is trying to repeat too fast. Many people think shadowing means copying every word at full speed. But when you rush, you lose the natural flow, you lose the rhythm, and you end up sounding tense instead of smooth. Shadowing should feel like following the speaker, not chasing them. Another mistake is trying to translate while shadowing. The moment you translate in your head, your brain switches into thinking mode instead of speaking mode, and your reflex becomes slow. Shadowing works only when you let the sounds pass through your brain without stopping to analyze them. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to imitate the sound. A third mistake is choosing content that is too difficult. If the audio is too fast, too complex, or full of vocabulary you've never heard before, your brain gets overwhelmed and you end up quitting halfway. Shadowing should feel challenging but doable, like lifting a weight that is light enough to repeat every day. Another common problem is practicing for too long. Some learners push themselves to shadow for 20 or 30 minutes non-stop, but this leads to tiredness, frustration, and burnout. The real power of shadowing comes from short, consistent practice. 3 to 5 minutes a day is enough to create big progress over time. And finally, many learners compare themselves to native speakers and feel discouraged. But shadowing is not about sounding perfect or sounding like a native speaker. It is about training your mouth, your ears, and your reflexes. Comparing yourself only steals your motivation. The only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. When you avoid these mistakes and practice the right way, shadowing becomes a powerful and enjoyable tool to boost your fluency every single day. Shadowing becomes truly powerful when you know how to do it the right way, especially if you're a beginner. Many learners give up because they start too fast, choose content that's too hard, or expect themselves to speak perfectly from the beginning. But shadowing is not about perfection. It's about rhythm, repetition, and building small habits that train your mouth and brain to work together in English. So in this part, I'll guide you through the simplest and most effective way to practice shadowing, step by step, so you can grow your fluency without stress, pressure, or confusion. Let's start with step 1, choosing the right audio. If you choose something too difficult, you'll quickly feel lost and frustrated. That's why beginners should always start with slow content designed for levels A1 to A2. This can be a slow podcast, a video where the speaker talks clearly, or a short story that lasts only 10 to 20 seconds. Shorter is better because your brain can focus on copying the sound instead of trying to memorize long sentences. The biggest mistake in the beginning is choosing content that is too advanced. Fast movies, complicated interviews, or native conversations. Those things are great later, but for now, choose something slow, simple, and friendly. When the audio is clear and natural, your shadowing becomes smoother, easier, and more enjoyable. Next is step 2. Listen once to get familiar with the sound. Before you start repeating, don't jump in immediately. Give yourself a moment to hear the rhythm of the speaker's voice. Notice how the sentence rises and falls, where the pauses are, how the words connect. You don't need to translate. You don't need to understand everything. You don't even need to guess the meaning. All you need to do is let the sound enter your ears so your brain can prepare for the movement your mouth will make. Think of it like hearing a melody before you try singing along. Your brain needs a preview before your voice joins in. Now we move to step 3, your first round of shadowing. This is where you begin to echo the speaker. In the first round, the goal is not speed. The goal is accuracy. You repeat in a slow, controlled way, matching the rhythm and copying the sounds as closely as you can. Don't worry if your pronunciation isn't perfect. It will improve naturally the longer you practice. Focus on the feeling of the words in your mouth. Feel how your lips move, how your tongue shifts, how the air flows out. If you feel yourself rushing or getting tense, slow down a little and follow the speaker's rhythm. Think of it like walking next to someone. You match their steps, not run ahead of them. After that comes step 4, the second round of shadowing, where your confidence grows. In this round, you speak a bit faster and more smoothly. You don't force yourself to go full speed, but you allow your voice to flow more naturally. You begin to connect words together without stopping after each one. The goal here is to sound more fluid, more connected, and more relaxed. You're no longer thinking about each sound separately. You're letting them blend together the way they do in real English. This second round is the moment when you feel progress. Even after just a few minutes, you'll notice that your mouth moves more easily. Your tongue finds the right position quicker, and your voice becomes more confident. This round builds fluency. Then we arrive at step 5, listening to yourself. An optional but powerful technique. If you want faster improvement, take out your phone and record your shadowing for just 30 seconds or 1 minute. When you listen back, something magical happens. You start to notice things you never realized while speaking. Maybe your TH sounds more like D. Or maybe you speak too softly, or your rhythm is a little flat. None of these are problems. They are signals that help you improve. Recording yourself is not about judging your mistakes. It's about seeing your progress and understanding your patterns. Many learners avoid listening to themselves because it feels uncomfortable at first, but this discomfort disappears quickly. And once you get used to it, recording becomes one of the most effective tools for self-improvement. Now let's talk about how long you should practice. A common misunderstanding is that more time equals faster progress. But shadowing doesn't work that way. Long sessions tire your mouth and make your brain lose focus. The real magic happens with short, consistent practice. Just 3 to 5 minutes a day. That might sound too simple, but it's the consistency that matters. 3 minutes every day is far more powerful than one long 30-minute session once a week. Small daily actions create fluency. Your mouth builds muscle memory. Your ears get familiar with the sound patterns. and your brain adjusts to English rhythm. Over time, these small moments stack up to become big improvements. When you practice shadowing correctly, you begin to feel English instead of forcing yourself to study it. You start noticing the way native speakers stretch certain words and shorten others. You pick up their tone, their emotion, their flow. Your voice becomes more natural, and speaking becomes less scary. This method builds fluency not by teaching rules, but by training your instincts. And instincts are what fluency is all about. Remember, the goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Don't pressure yourself to understand everything. Don't worry if you miss a word. Don't try to speak exactly like the speaker right away. Just follow the steps, keep the practice short, and stay consistent. Over days and weeks, your improvement will surprise you. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You don't need to speak perfectly. You don't need hours of study. You just need a few minutes of shadowing, done the right way, done every day. That's how fluency begins. Small steps, strong habits, and a voice that grows more confident with every repetition. Now let's move into part 6, your real shadowing practice inside this podcast. This is the moment where you stop just listening and start training your mouth, your rhythm, and your fluency. I'll read a series of short, simple sentences. Your job is to repeat them right after me, like an echo. Don't think too much. Don't translate. Don't try to be perfect. Just follow the sound and let your voice flow naturally. Let's begin with Group 1. Goal sentences. These help you build motivation and identity as an English speaker. Listen and repeat. I want to speak English fluently. I'm improving every day. English is part of my life. As you repeat these, feel the rhythm and let the words become yours. Now we move to Group 2, encouraging sentences. These build confidence and help you keep going even when learning feels slow. Repeat after me. I learn little by little. I don't stop, I keep going. Mistakes help me grow. Say them with a calm, steady voice. Shadowing is about progress, not perfection. Next is Group 3, action sentences. These train you to talk about everyday habits. Ready? Repeat. I listen to English every day. I practice even when I'm busy. I speak with confidence. These short sentences are powerful because they match real-life English you can use anytime. As you shadow these lines, notice how your mouth starts moving more easily, how your breath becomes smoother, and how your voice sounds a little more natural each time. This small daily practice, just a few minutes, builds fluency faster than memorizing long vocabulary lists or studying grammar rules. If you want extra practice, Replay this section and shadow it again. Repetition is your superpower. With every echo, your English becomes clearer, stronger, and more confident. To make shadowing truly effective, the secret isn't intensity, it's consistency. And consistency becomes so much easier when you turn shadowing into a simple, enjoyable daily habit. The first tip is to practice at the same time every day. When your brain knows exactly when shadowing happens, it becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee. You don't have to force yourself because it becomes part of your routine. The second tip is one of the most important. Choose audio you actually enjoy. This is the difference between giving up after 1 week and staying consistent for months. If you like the voice, the style, or the message, your brain feels rewarded, and you naturally return to practice. Learning becomes lighter, smoother, and more fun. Next, set a small goal. Don't aim for 20 minutes. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes is easy. 3 minutes is doable even on a busy day. And those 3 minutes, repeated consistently, have far more power than long sessions you can't maintain. Tip number 4. Practice during daily activities. You don't always need a quiet desk or a study space. Shadow while washing dishes, walking to work, waiting for the bus, or cleaning your room. These short pockets of time add up quickly, and before you know it, you've practiced without even trying. And the final tip, never judge yourself by perfection. Judge yourself only by consistency. Shadowing is not about sounding exactly like the speaker. It's about building flow, rhythm, confidence, and comfort. The more you show up, the more natural English becomes. So keep it simple, keep it small, and keep it daily. That's how shadowing transforms from a technique into a powerful lifelong habit. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want to bring everything back to one simple message, a message that can completely transform the way you learn English. Small steps every day create big improvement. Not big effort once in a while, not long study sessions that leave you exhausted, but small, gentle, consistent steps. That's how your fluency grows. That's how your confidence grows. And that's how English becomes a natural part of your life, not just a subject you study. Shadowing is one of the most powerful tools you have, not because it is complicated, but because it is simple. When you listen and repeat, when you follow the rhythm of English without pressure or perfection, you are training your brain and your mouth in the most natural way possible. You are building the habits that lead to fluency. And the best part, you can start right now, today, even if you only have 3 minutes. So I want to encourage you, sometime today, After this podcast ends, try shadowing again. It can be a sentence from this episode, a short video you like, or a slow English story on this channel. Just choose something simple, something enjoyable, and repeat it like an echo. Feel the rhythm, feel the sound, and let your voice move without fear. That small action today is the beginning of your transformation. If you enjoyed this episode and want more guidance, more slow listening practice, and more shadowing exercises, make sure you follow the English Stories podcast so you never miss a new episode. Your support helps this community grow, and it helps more learners around the world discover a simple and gentle way to improve their English. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings, it would mean so much if you could leave a 5-star review. It takes just a few seconds, but it helps this podcast reach more people who need motivation, clarity, and a friendly voice to guide them on their English journey. And if you know someone, a friend, a classmate, a coworker, who is learning English and sometimes feels lost or overwhelmed, please share this episode with them. You never know how much a small recommendation can help someone feel supported, encouraged, and ready to keep going. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. If you have a topic you want me to cover, a question about learning English, or a challenge you're struggling with, feel free to suggest your next topic. Your ideas help shape this podcast, and together we can create episodes that truly support your growth.